Hello, everybody. Welcome to Moment of Clarity. I know exactly what's going to happen in the Democratic primaries. I figured it out. I'm probably not the first, but I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. And it's kind of unsettling, but follow me here. So I knew that the establishment's going to do everything they can to try and stop Bernie Sanders from having the requisite number of delegates to be named nominee when he comes into the convention. When you go into the convention, at that point, you need to have 50% or above of all the delegates. That number is 1,990. So for the moment, let's ignore the fact that it's a completely undemocratic system and that delegates are really designed so that the ruling elite can make sure to get their candidates in and not go by the popular vote, which is really what we should be looking at. Let's ignore that for now. 1,990 delegates is what you need going into the convention. If Bernie Sanders has less than that, then he is not named the nominee, at least not at that point. So let's look at Nate Silver's 538.com. 538.com is well known for being one of the best at statistical analyses of exit polling, of what's going to happen, of what should happen, what might happen. They've been doing it for years. Now, they have gotten some things very wrong, such as they did not see Trump's presidency coming. They got that election wrong. Why, I believe, is because of interstate crosscheck. The thing that 538.com fails to do is account for fraud. They seem to be terrible at accounting for the election fraud that we see in most of our elections. Interstate crosscheck knocked a few million people off the rolls, and it was enough in the swing states to put Donald Trump into office last time around. But even though 538.com is not good at calculating for fraud, they still can tell us a lot about what's about to happen. So they have a page. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can go check it out. Who will win the 2020 Democratic primary? And in order to get these numbers, they have run thousands of computer models to figure out what's most likely and what the average number of delegates is that each candidate will get. Right now, they're predicting that Bernie Sanders has a 1 in 3 chance, 35%, of winning 50% or more of the delegates before the convention. But they're predicting that no one has a greater chance of winning 50%, meaning going into the convention, there will not be someone with a majority of the delegates. There will be someone with a plurality, but that is not enough to get the nomination. Next up, they predict Biden has a 1 in 8 chance, and Bloomberg has a 1 in 12 chance. Buttigieg, Warren, and Klobuchar are way down lower. So they're predicting, based on thousands of models, that Bernie Sanders will average 1,506 delegates. Not the 1990 that you need to get. 1,506. But Biden's average is way lower, 806. About half of what Bernie gets. And Bloomberg's below that, Buttigieg way down with 497. Those are their averages. Buttigieg, out of thousands of computer models, there is not a single one that has him getting the majority of delegates to get the nomination. Biden, there's only a sliver, a tiny percentage chance that he could go into the convention with the nomination. Bernie, a much larger chance. But let's think about this. 538.com, not good at considering fraud. They, probably predicted that Bernie Sanders was going to win the New Hampshire primary by several percentage points. He ultimately only won by 1.5 percentage points. And there are some reports that Bernie Sanders did much worse in the counties that did not have paper ballots, meaning the counties that you cannot check what is happening in the machines, what is happening with the elections. So considering 538.com is not so good at considering or calculating fraud, calculating that these elections are not fully legitimate, it's likely Bernie Sanders will get less than that number, less than that average they have there for him. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and assume Bernie Sanders does really well. He gets more than 1,500. Let's assume he gets 1,800. Okay? He wins all of these contests. And by the way, if you look at what they're predicting for each state, California, Texas, Virginia, they're predicting Bernie Sanders will be winning all of these states. But if he's going into these states and winning by just a little bit, get a few delegates here, a few extra delegates there, it's not enough to get to that 50% mark. So let's assume he goes into the convention with a plurality, 1,700, 1,800 delegates, but not a majority. At that point, what the DNC, what the Democratic establishment, what these fucking snakes and oligarchs and goddamn jackals will do is they will take probably the next two people, or Bloomberg and someone, because he's got unlimited resources. They'll take Bloomberg and let's say Warren or Klobuchar, and they'll say, here it is. This is your president and your vice presidential candidates, Bloomberg and Warren, and they'll group together all of those delegates. Then they'll add on the super delegates, which is the Democratic establishment, which fucking hate Bernie Sanders. I mean, they just hate anything that is even it's a slightly progressive. If you want a dying person to have health care, then you're a fucking socialist, and they hate all that. So they'll add on the super delegates, add on the delegates that come from putting a Warren Bloomberg ticket or whatever, and then add on delegates from some of the other people, Buttigieg, et cetera, and they'll get a big pile of delegates. That is enough to put their people as the Democratic nominee. Now, will that infuriate people? Absolutely. Will the fact that Bernie Sanders win in the convention, having won almost every contest, and still not be given the nomination, infuriate millions of Democrats and progressives? Absolutely. But they don't care, first of all. And secondly, they'll probably lay down some reason that they had to do it. They'll probably say Bernie Sanders is a Russian agent or whatever the fuck. They'll give some reason that it had to happen. And you can go through all these numbers and look at them yourself. I'll put the link in the description. But there's really only two ways to stop this fucking horror show. To stop the DNC, the oligarchs, the establishment from putting in their candidate that will promote endless war and endless Wall Street greed and endless exploitation and the destruction of our environment. There's really only two ways, and both of them involve getting very active. One is for Bernie Sanders to win in a way that is beyond what all fraud can stop, beyond what anybody expected, so that he doesn't just walk out of these states with a couple of delegates. He walks out of these states having trounced the opposition, and he goes into the convention with 50% of the delegates, and it's too late. They don't have a way to stop him at that point. The second thing to do, if that doesn't happen, is be prepared to get very active at this convention in Milwaukee. Be prepared to stand up and fight back and demand some sort of legitimate primary election. The ruling elite will not cede power easily, all right? They're not going to sit back and go, oh, look, this is what the people wanted. I didn't realize. Hey, did you see this? The people want to be treated right. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize. Yeah, let's let them go ahead and do that. That's cool. No, that's not how it works. And those of us who speak out against this are going to be tarred and feathered. We're going to be called all kinds of names. I don't know what I'm going to be called next. I'm a Russian asset. I think I've been called a Syrian asset. I'm a Palestinian asset. You know, at least it's good to have everybody talking about my ass. That I kind of like. A couple of other quick points. The reason they're going to keep all of these candidates in the election the entire time, even if they're getting trounced, I bet you'll see most of these candidates stay in the election. And the reason is because they want to save their delegates so that they can amass them when they get to the convention in order to defeat Bernie Sanders. The second thing is that if it ends up being Bloomberg versus Donald Trump, then that means you've already lost. We, the American people, already fucked. It's oligarch versus oligarch. It's billionaire New Yorker versus billionaire New Yorker. It is Wall Street versus Wall Street, all right? They win no matter what. They win whether Bloomberg gets it or Donald Trump gets it. It doesn't fucking matter. It is billionaire versus billionaire, money versus money, exploitation of the American working class versus exploitation of the American working class. Either way you go, they've already won. This is a long fight, and we better get ready. That's your moment of clarity. Please share this video if you see fit. As you know, my stuff is suppressed and censored on every level, so please click subscribe, click the bell icon, and also text the word redacted to 33777. That's text the word redacted to 33777. It's completely free in the US, and it gets you signed up to our email list. All right, keep fighting.